So realistically, I mean, who are we blaming? Is it Ross? Is it the offense? Is it the pitching? Is it John Schneider? Is it Rogers? We'll talk about it today.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Sound on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. As always, I'm Braden Wasco. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Braden5E Wasco. Carter First, too, as well. On our main one, Locked On Jays. So make sure you guys go and follow us on that Twitter account as well. Please hit the subscribe button on YouTube. It really does help us out. If you guys are coming back and you're watching our pods, it's free. Doesn't really affect your life in a whole great deal. Might as well. And if you're listening anywhere else, head over to this YouTube page and follow us on there as well, where you get your live streams, your shorts, your podcasts, your videos, all there on YouTube. Every episode, I usually start off by saying, wow, we got a lot to talk about today because we have a lot to talk about. Well, this one, it's not so much that there is pressing matters. We have injury updates. We have updates on Will Wagner. We do have some updates. But at the end of the day, Carter, it's time to have the discussion, the conversation on who's to blame for this team's output. Honestly, do you blame Ross Atkins? Do you blame the entire front office? Do you blame John Schneider? Do you blame the defense? Or the pitching? Do you blame Rogers? I think it's about time we have this conversation. And it's something I think we had way later last year when this team was obviously going through some issues. But we're seeing the same holes. We're seeing the same problems as last year. So let's have the conversation. I guess let's go through them. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple of my takes here. Then you can go off and you can give me yours. And you can tell me if you agree or not. Let's start with Rogers. I don't blame Rogers a single bit for what is going on right now. They have spent the money. They're one of the top payrolls in baseball. I have no problem. You keep Vladimir Guerrero Jr. around, the face of your franchise, who needs to play better. Rogers is the one giving out the money. How this team uses that money and what that money now represents on the field are different things. So Rogers for me is a zero blame here. Are you on the same page as me at all with this one?
I don't know if you can say zero blame because he's going to have obviously his hand in the moves that are going to be made. Like with when the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. contract signs. Again, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? We're going to have to find out. Obviously, right now, we think it's a good thing, but hindsight's going to be 2020. So I guess right now, I'm not ready to say that nothing is his fault because he is the owner of this team. He does appoint Ross Atkins. He does hire Mark Shapiro. He does hire all the guys that end up going out and spending money on these players. So I don't think you can say that Edward Rogers has no blame to have in this, but I don't think it'd be fair to say Edward Rogers is the guy hey, this is the massive problem on this team. This is the main guy that I want to blame. But I don't think you can say that he has no blame whatsoever.
Okay.
Now the guy that I kind of want to go into, which is obviously going to be the main topic of this podcast, it's Ross Atkins. I think that's where obviously a lot of people are going to go to look to blame a lot of these players. And you brought up the point of the Toronto Blue Jays have the 5th highest payroll in baseball. That can be looked at a good thing from the ownership group because they are willing to spend that money. They've shown that they are willing to be a top 5 spending group in baseball. But the Toronto Blue Jays have a top 5 payroll in baseball, and they are playing horrific baseball right now. They're paying Andrus Gimenez $16 million. They signed Alejandro Kirk to this big extension. He's not really showing what you want from the bat right now either. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. signs this extension. I think the pitching he's done a pretty good job at. But why are you having to pay $21 million for Kevin Gausman? Why are you having to pay $23 million for Jose Berrios, $21 million for Chris Bassitt? It's because you haven't developed any players in the farm system, and you have a horrific prospect pool. So when you're looking at a lot of people to blame, and it sucks that we're in April right now, we're already talking about who's to blame for the way the 2025 season is going. Things can, I guess, still turn around, but it's not giving me that feeling whatsoever. There feels like there's a lot of things that have been repetitive, even from 2023 all the way up until 2025. So Ross Atkins finding himself back into the spotlight once again, and we are not even into the month of May.
Yeah. I mean, again, you can go through the list of people to blame and whatever. John Schneider, he's got to deal with the people that go out on the field. He's got to make the decisions. But at the end of the day, if no one is hitting the baseball and no one is showing up to the field, it makes your job, for one, a whole lot easier, because any way you spin it, nothing's going to happen. Number two, the offense, the players. Yes, the bats have to be better. These are guys that you expected to be better. Maybe false hope. But at the end of the day, they have to be better. And their games are on them. The pitching, which has been pretty horrific over this past week and a half. You can sort of blame them. But at the end of the day, there are a lot of other factors playing into, hey, maybe why are these guys so tense on the mound? Because of the offense, because of what the offense has been doing. And some of it is on the pitcher. Some of the times they have to be better. Mark Shapiro, Ross Atkins, these two, they're taking the blame here. And I think I have to stop biting my tongue, because it's just time after time after time, it seems like the wrong move. And I got to give Ross Atkins credit for some things. He's went out and tried to sign major free agents. He has got the deal done with Vlad. He's made some moves that I thought were good. But at the end of the day, those free agents don't want to come to Toronto because there's not a winning culture in Toronto. Which is mostly based on what he has done over the past decade. And at the end of the day, that's on him to figure out. And if he can't figure out a way to get players here, and the right players here, and finding out what is the right recipe for success, then you're not doing your job. You could throw a monkey in there with $500 million and see what he can come out with. And he might put together a more successful offense than what Ross Atkins has done so far.
For me, when I think about Ross Atkins and I think of what has he done for the Toronto Blue Jays, one of the first thing that pops into my head is like the Lourdes Gurriel and the Teoscar Hernandez trades. Yeah. And we've talked about this on the podcast before. Both of those trades, I think, are losses for the Blue Jays. I think the way things are transferring over right now and the way things are panning out, the Teoscar Hernandez trade obviously is a massive blow to this team. If you have Teoscar Hernandez in this lineup, I'm not saying that he's going to do the exact same thing he's doing with the Dodgers right now, because there's a ton more protection in that lineup. This is a guy that can hit 25 home runs in his sleep. And you give him up. Again, I love Erik Swanson. I think he will be really good still. I think as soon as he comes back from the injury, it's going to be fine. But you give up Erik Swanson for a power hitter, and you get Adam Mako as well. Maybe he does pan out, maybe he doesn't. That's a tough trade. And then you go Lourdes Gurriel, again, not this massive perennial home run hitter. He's not going to hit 35 home runs. But this is a guy that was hitting 275, was getting on base at a decent clip, was a very good guy to have in the middle of the order. It just seemed to be very clutch as well. When you remember Lourdes Gurriel, you remember his clutch hitting a lot with the Toronto Blue Jays. Other things to think about with Ross Atkins is how he had the best prospect pool around 2020, 2021 going into those seasons. And how is that panned out for the Toronto Blue Jays? The main thing that you really think about when you think about Ross Atkins is 0 playoff wins. That is the first thing that most fans are going to talk about when they talk about Ross Atkins. There has been 0 success in the playoffs. You can get your team to the playoffs. And again, there is a fair argument, I think, to be made is that once you make to the playoffs and you get your team to the playoffs, Ross Atkins can't go out there and swing the bat. So obviously, when you're looking at this team, you do have to blame the players. And I think at the end of the day, in majority of scenarios, you do have to blame the players at the end of the day, because they are the ones taking the at-bats on the field. They are the ones throwing baseballs. They are the ones pitching. They are the ones actually playing the game. But Ross Atkins is that guy who is setting up this roster. So any kind of combination you want to blame the players and Ross Atkins, I think this all of the kind of encompasses together to see the product on the field that we've honestly had for this baseball team over the last 3 seasons.
Yeah, you're right. It's everybody's got a hand in this pie, right? There's too many. I don't want to say too many cooks in the kitchen. Too many of the wrong cooks in the wrong kitchens. You got the offense out in the back lane trying to cook a rat. You got Ross Atkins, who's at the beach somewhere. You got Mark Shapiro. His head is in a lamp, and it seems like nothing is working. And everyone has a little bit of this issue. The offense has to do their job. Some of these players that you are paying have to do their jobs. Ross Atkins has to be better. You have to know the product you have within your space. You have to be able to develop players. The pitching, you can't crumble. You can't crumble mentally. The offense comes out and puts up a bad showing. You have to do your job. Don't think of wins and losses. Think of going out there and giving yourself a quality start. Go out there and think of doing your job. Edward Rogers, maybe it's time to move on from Ross Atkins, Mark Shapiro. And you know what? Like I watched Gate 14's interview with Mark Shapiro, and they're having a blast. They're having a fun time. And don't get me wrong, we probably would be too, Carter. But it's a lot of fun having for a team that you see a lot of holes in, and it's his job. And this is me holding people accountable. It's his job to put a good baseball team out on this field. And we have now had many seasons of no success. At the end of the day, it was a fun interview and it was great, and good on those guys. They did a great job. But at some point, we got to start holding these people accountable again. And it can't be when you're bottom of the barrel and you're bringing up the Bisons to come play for you because you just traded away everybody again. It has to be, hey, it's early and we're getting on this, because you got to start doing your job. And if that's the players, if that's management, if that's front office, if that's whoever, people got to start doing their job. And I'm getting frustrated because I'm out here watching this team that I love, that I spend a lot of money and a lot of my time paying attention to, and I'm getting nothing in return. So we got to get rid of the saying of it's still early. No longer. I no longer accept that. Do your job. That's where I'm at, Carter. And I know it's a little bit of a rant, but at this point, what else do you do?
Yeah, people got to step up at the end of the day. But my biggest thing with people stepping up is you can't expect Vladimir to be this bad all season. You can't expect Santander to be this bad all season. But just looking at this team in totality, I really want to focus on the offense here, is we've seen where the team's floor is at. And it's below the Earth's crust at this point. It's below the Earth's core. When this team is bad, they are one of the worst baseball teams we've ever seen. On the flip side, when this team is hot, if you have Santander firing, you have Vladdy firing, you have Bichette firing, this team has okay upside. I'm not going to say it's top 10 offensive upside, but even at the team's best, like we're probably middle of the pack, maybe slightly above average with these guys. My biggest thing is it's not necessarily the top of the order. I think the top of the order will end up figuring these things out. But just looking at the power numbers, look at the offensive numbers that have been with this team for the last 3 seasons. And again, it is only 1 month through the season. And Ross Atkins, I guess, in theory, had a good offseason in regards to how the past off seasons have went. But the issue is, the reason why the 2024 team was so bad is because Ross Atkins made that roster. The reason why the 2023 team was so bad is because Ross Atkins made that roster. So you might have had a good offseason in 2025. That 2024 roster was not a competitive roster whatsoever. Like, just going into this season, you had Andrus Gimenez as your number 4 hitter for the entire month of April, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, you could see it going into the season that there was going to be a power bat hole on this team. And I guess Ross Atkins did try to go out and sign all these players. But again, when you talk about players not wanting to come to Toronto because there's no winning culture, who is the main guy and who is one of the main reasons why there is not a winning culture in Toronto right now? Again, I don't want to blame Ross Atkins entirely because Vladdy hasn't been up to par this season. Honestly, 2023, not a very good season either. But Bichette not existent in 2024. You have some of your big dogs that just weren't producing up to form. And you can't necessarily blame Ross Atkins for all of that because you can't see like Bichette or Vladimir Guerrero Jr. falling off the face of the earth. But your players need to be better. Like you said, your players need to end up doing their jobs. But you're not going to fire Vladdy. You're not going to fire Santander. You're not going to fire Bo. Maybe you do DFA the odd guy. You're going to DFA a bullpen guy, whoever. You might option a guy to AAA. The Toronto Blue Jays are going to need a fall guy. And unfortunately, you can't really fire a general manager in the middle of the year. And I don't think it's his fault whatsoever. But John Schneider, just because of the way this team has been going, you saw Guillermo Martinez get fired last season when the offense was abysmal. Maybe that was time for it, but you're more likely to fire a coach than you are to completely, jumpstart a team. And maybe in the offseason, hopefully in the offseason, Ross Atkins probably does get fired from this team. But right now, the Toronto Blue Jays, if they're looking for a spark, John Schneider might be the guy in the hot seat.
I don't love that because I don't think it's his fault. And
it's not.
Yes, he's made dumb decisions in the past, but a young guy First couple years in the majors, managing a major league ball club. Do I love him? No. I think he's a good person. I think he talks to the media fairly well and fairly open. And I like to see that from a guy. But yeah, Carter, you might be right. Maybe it is fall guy time, and that sucks because he's not the one responsible for this. So we'll wait and see what happens. We got to talk Will Wagner because he has been moved down as well. Injury updates on some of the guys that maybe could come in and make a difference, but probably not where you expect it. So we're going to talk about all that coming up. Stay tuned for more Locked On Blue Jays. Today's episode brought to you by Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into a gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV 4K stick devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign into Xbox Game Pass Unlimited with EA Play included, and you're ready to go. This is crazy. I can't even believe this is a thing. This is so cool. I'm a big PlayStation guy, but hey, if I don't need the console, might flip me. Dive into hundreds of premium titles, including EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty. 2 games I love. Big college football game guy. Don't watch a ton of it in my day-to-day, but that game was fantastic. Call of Duty. It can never go wrong with some Call of Duty. As easily as you stream your favorite shows, you can play these games, which is just a crazy thing to me. Head to Amazon.com/FireTV-LOCKED-ON to get started. Xbox Game Pass Unlimited subscriptions and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and the Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. Today's episode also brought to you by Farm to Fork. And when I tell you guys how great Farm to Fork is, I am not lying. You can ask Locked On Sens about them. Those guys love Farm to Fork. We love Farm to Fork because it's everything I want. It's everything I need. If you're a fan of premium, locally farmed meats delivered straight to your door, I've got some exciting news. Farm to Fork makes it even easier to get high-quality steaks, air-chilled chicken, wild-caught seafood, and more. All with no antibiotics, hormones, or GMOs. Plus, everything comes flash frozen, individually packaged for your convenience. All Farm to Fork meats are raised on Canadian farms. So when you order, you're supporting local producers. It's time to buy Canadian, and that's never been more true than right now. You saw the Canadian election happen. You see Donald Trump with the tariffs. Support your local businesses. Farm to Fork, great meats, unbelievable. And you know what? I wasn't sure about them, right? I was like, oh, what's Farm to Fork? And Ross Levitan of Locked On Senators gave me the rundown. It's his premium place to go, and it's now become mine because Farm to Fork is that good. They're delivering all across Ontario, Western Quebec, and the best part, delivery is free with a minimum order of $199. So you don't even have to leave the house to get this quality. That's a big one for me. I cannot stand going to the grocery store. I've got a special code just for you. Use LOCKEDON40 to get $40 off your first order from Farm to Fork. Visit farm2forkdelivery.ca to start stocking up on the best meats around. Again, that's LOCKEDON40 for $40 off your first order. Farm to Fork, delicious, locally farmed meats delivered straight to your door. So, Carter, some news. Will Wagner has been sent down in a roster move, and I'll get into mine. How do you feel?
It was an interesting move, to say the least. And it's not because Will Wagner was lighting the world on fire. It's who's going to play infield for this baseball team anymore. Like, I went through who our outfielders are now with Daulton Varsho being back. And you have Daulton Varsho obviously going to start the majority in center. You have George Springer probably going to play a lot of right field. You have Anthony Santander, left field, right field. You rotate those two, whatever. Maybe it will be at DH a lot of the time as well. I prefer Santander probably at the DH spot. But you still have Alan Roden, still have Miles Straw, you still have Nathan Lucas, you still have Addison Barger. That is 7 outfielders, 7 players that could be playing in the outfield. So with Will Wagner being sent down to AAA, again, a guy with not a lot of major league service time, was struggling at the end of the day. When we look at Will Wagner's stats throughout April, again, we talked about it last season. I was kind of trying to walk people back a little bit, saying like, hey, Will Wagner only has 25 games playing the MLB. He hit like 300 in that time. Great to see that. But kind of the same thing we're seeing with David Schneider, kind of the same thing we're seeing with Alan Roden right now, that these players can come in and light the world on fire. But as soon as you start getting tape on these guys, you start getting film on these guys, their weaknesses become exposed. Alan Roden's just throw him a low and inside curveball. It's pretty much over. Will Wagner's just kind of, rolling over a lot of the time on some inside pitches. So you start to figure out how to attack these guys, and it becomes fairly obvious on how to get them out. So I think this could have been Will Wagner. I think this could have been Alan Roden. A lot of people wanted Nathan Lucas. I don't necessarily see that happening just due to age. Again, if you're going to send somebody down to AAA, you want them playing every single day. If Nathan Lucas gets sending him down to AAA, does that really benefit a lot for this team? I think Nathan Lucas, unfortunately, as well as like Alan Roden, as well as Will Wagner right now, are doing similar things for this ball club. So I don't mind sending Will Wagner down. I'm just going to be interested to see how this lineup ends up turning out, because I think this probably will mean, and John Schneider did end up saying this, that Addison Barger is going to play some third base. And if you guys have been listening to this podcast, you know how I feel about Addison Barger at third base, and I am not a big fan of it. I want to keep this guy in the outfield. Not a great defender whatsoever, especially fielding ground balls. So I think we're going to have to see how this does pan out. But I mean, the way the offense is going, you got to sell it for the power. So, I mean, I guess I can't hate on Addison Barger getting more playing time.
I'm not a fan of that at all, to be honest. I think what should happen, and hate it or love it, I'm going to tell you a solution here. And I don't know if it's going to happen. I almost doubt it's going to happen, but it's an idea. You bring Santander to 1. You move Vladdy to 3. Vladdy said he's wanted to play some 3-bag. Give him the opportunity. Give him the opportunity. Keep Addison Barger in the outfield, or Alan Roden, or Nathan Lucas, or Miles Straw, or whoever you want. But I think maybe I don't know if it's a better option. Might be more entertaining for me, though. That I don't know. It's an option out there. Again, they're going to have to adjust, because you can't have no infielders on your bench and expect things to work out. And it's going to be tough watching Addison Barger play 3 when you've seen how good defensively Ernie Clement is. And again, I don't know if Vlad's a better option, but I think it's definitely a more entertaining option. And at this point in the season, I don't hate the experiment a little bit. I don't want him there every game, but an experiment here or there. I think if you're having to choose Addison Barger or Vladimir Guerrero Jr., it's 1A, 1B. Take what you want.
Yeah, I'm not going to start the motion for Vladdy at third base. I think we kind of know how it's going to go. The defense with Addison Barger compared to Vladdy is going to be similar. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be a fun time at the hot corner with both of them. When we're looking at Addison Barger, he's probably predominantly going to hit against right-handed pitchers. Obviously, there is more righties and lefties. So maybe if you have a lefty on the mound, that's when you might experiment with moving Vladdy to third. I don't think you do that against a right-handed pitcher, because you have Ernie Clement that can hit righties. You have Addison Barger that can hit righties. Obviously, you prefer Ernie Clement's defense over Vladdy and Addison Barger. That's no question. But clearly, they just want Addison Barger's bat in the lineup. I think that was a massive move and a massive reason why they've sent Will Wagner down, because that does open a spot up for Addison Barger. It's kind of the same notion that we've had with these younger guys. If you're going to have them up in the show, if you're going to have them on the major league team, you might as well let them play. You might as well see what they got. And if it's a really bad stretch, that's unfortunate, but you send them back down to AAA, they get their confidence back there. And you, again, unfortunately, you do this little bit of the trial and error thing that you're doing with the bullpen, or at least you want to do with the bullpen with your lower leverage guys, is you try to get someone to catch fire. That's one major problem with the offense right now. One thing that maybe we're not as hard on the offense right now is if somebody took a step, if somebody stepped up to the plate. Will Wagner had a little bit of a breakout. If Alan Roden has a breakout. Nathan Lucas, I mean, you can't really put him in the breakout terms. Miles Straw has been the guy that's kind of breaking out along with Tyler Heineman, but we haven't really seen anyone in AAA either. Elvis Martinez, Joey Loperfido hasn't really done a whole lot. There's some other options down there, but nothing that's going to bolster this offense. So nobody's really stepped up, and nobody has made it a tough decision for John Schneider. Like, hey, this guy has been very good at the plate. We need to get his bat in the lineup. There has been absolute radio silence when you're talking about anyone on this team stepping up. And kind of circling this back into the Ross Atkins thing, the reason that we were even like slightly optimistic is because I'm not going to give up on my baseball team before the season starts. It's 162 games. That is not going to be a very fun season if you are just going to be negative right out of the gate. Unless you're like the Chicago White Sox, you're never going to catch me like that on the podcast. But obviously, if they're playing bad, if you're seeing the product on the field, obviously we're going to be people that hold the players accountable. But going into the season, like we said, if Alejandro Kirk maybe has a little bit of a bounce back, kind of thought Andrus Gimenez was kind of who we're seeing right now, unfortunately. But that was another guy. If you got to 2022, you're going to be hopeful. If Will Wagner took a step, if Alan Roden took a step, literally, if anyone, we got one. You got one player with George Springer, the way he's hitting. If you could have had somebody hit 5 or 6 in this lineup, maybe the offense is not bad. And there still is an opportunity for somebody on the offense to step up. And maybe that is Addison Barger. Maybe that somehow does become Alan Roden. Maybe he bounces back. But right now, it's still open, and there is a wide open spot in this lineup for somebody to want and grab that playing time to become a regular player for this baseball team.
Yeah, and it's what we talked about all offseason. I think I remember a quote of mine. I think we made it into a TikTok as well, or a short and whatever, is that you had to expect your young guys to step up. And that is the difference between a good or a bad baseball team is you need your players to have good seasons, to play. If you want to win a World Series, doesn't matter who you have on your team, you need them to have career years. And we haven't seen even a slight bit of that. So, yeah, you're right, Carter. I don't know. I don't know who it can be. Maybe it is Addison Barger. Maybe Addison Barger catches some fire here. And, we said ride the hot hand. There is no hands to ride. That's a terrible analogy, but that's what it is. No one's doing well enough to to say that. And it is what it is. I guess we have to just accept that. And I feel like I've been saying it is what it is over the past few episodes, just because I don't know. There isn't a solution right now. You need these players to start playing better. That's it. These guys got to figure it out. They're professional baseball players. Figure it out.
And what makes it so much worse for me is that you're seeing other teams kind of have these breakouts. These guys step up. I always talk about Trent Grisham from the Yankee series, Ben Rice having a very good year. Let's go to the Astro series. Zach DeZenzo had 5 hits in two games that he played in that series. And we are sort of getting it from guys like Miles Straw, I guess. We are sort of getting it from Tyler Heineman. But these guys aren't regular players in the lineup. And they were doing it at the start of the season. Obviously, they are falling off. And nobody expected Miles Straw to hit 350 the entire season. But it's none of those guys that you thought, oh, maybe they have a little bit of upside. Maybe they could do this consistently and not just, riding the hot hand. You do want to do that, but you were hoping someone was actually breaking up for at least half the season, for a good portion of the season, like the Spencer Horwitz that we got last season, the Brendan Little that we sort of had a little bit through the bullpen last season. There has been nothing for that for the Toronto Blue Jays, honestly, on both sides of the baseball right now. Other than, I guess you could say Easton Lucas for 2 starts where we thought he was the greatest human being alive. But obviously we did figure out how that did work out. But right now, just I guess they're just kind of throwing stuff at the fan and seeing what sticks, because there is not a lot of options left in this baseball team.
No, there isn't. Again, we don't want to be super down in the dumps, but it's hard not to be right now.
You lost 8-9. Hopefully, we are pre-recording this because we are going to the street party. Obviously, we will watch the game back, and hopefully, it will be worth our time watching the game back. If they lose 10-0, I mean, I don't know how we're going to be able to do that. But yeah, hopefully we're doing a little bit of a reverse jinx. Maybe the Locked On boys, missing a little bit of that 9th inning, 8th inning. Obviously, we'll be able to watch the majority of the game still. Might be the key to ignite something, because clearly it's not working with whatever they're doing in the clubhouse. Maybe you guys, maybe the Locked On boys, maybe someone, I don't know what needs to happen. Someone needs to ignite some fire into this baseball club. And maybe you have to do it with the pitching as well. Hopefully that doesn't continue to be this trend. But yeah, things are more down than they've probably ever been, I think, on this podcast. That's saying a lot coming from that 2024 season that we just had to cover.
Yeah, and we got to come back. We're going to update you guys on some injuries, where some guys are at, especially bullpen guys. Will it help the offense? No. But, we can at least let you know that some guys are returning, some guys that we were or eventually returning, and some guys that we were excited to see at the start of this year and we just haven't got to yet. So we'll update you guys on all that coming right up.
Today's episode is sponsored by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full responsibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place, so you can just stop managing your money and start building wealth. One thing I realized as soon as I moved out of a small town is that I had a whole oyster of food at my disposal. There's so many restaurants that I did not try. There's so much advertisement, so many things that were attracting me to fast food, to sit down restaurants, whatever it was. And I realized I was spending a ton of money. I got Monarch Money, realized, hey, you are blowing a ton of money. You could just be cooking at home, buying groceries, and cut your bill in half, if not more. So Monarch Money really saved me on that one. Take control of your finances today with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year.
So, Carter, again, this is an episode, we thought we weren't going to take long, but you get heated, right? You get moving, the boys get, saucing it around, and here we are. But it's good. I think we do have some updates for you on some injuries, including Erik Swanson. So, Carter, what do you got for us today?
Yeah, and this is from Arden's Dwelling. I got updates on 3 of the Blue Jays pitchers right now. Max Scherzer, again, if you guys listen to our podcast, I believe it was last week, I had maybe the hot take. I think it is probably his bold take. I don't think he's pitching in April or in May. Obviously, he's not going to pitch again in April because, April has 2 more days left, but I don't think he is going to pitch in May. I know he is throwing. I'm not exactly optimistic for Max Scherzer, but the update is that obviously the thumb injury threw off a mound on Tuesday and continues to progressively increase the volume. This is kind of going at like a snail's pace right now. And he's throwing about 30 pitches, but the problem became at 45 pitches. The problem was at 50 pitches. So as soon as he gets to there, I kind of want to see how the recovery time does happen at that point. If he does have another setback, he might even be shut down longer. I'm very optimistic. I want things to go well. Or at least I want to be optimistic. Unfortunately, just the way things are going. Maybe it's just the way the games are going right now, and that's why I'm a little bit negative towards Max Scherzer. I'm taking it out on him for some reason, but for me, not entirely optimistic about Max Scherzer, but we are seeing some positive things come out right now. Erik Swanson, with the elbow injury, will begin a rehab assignment on Tuesday in Dunedin. So this obviously has happened already. So we got to hope that Erik Swanson, within the next week or so, will make his return to the Toronto Blue Jays. And then Ryan Burr, supposed to be a little bit behind Erik Swanson at most a week. Face live hitters on Tuesday again. He will do that again on Friday. So again, you got Ryan Burr, you got Erik Swanson, you got some of these guys coming back, bolstering the bullpen, which has been the best part of this team right now. But again, you can never have too many pitchers, especially with the way the offense is playing right now. So definitely some things to keep track of in Toronto Blue Jays land. But unfortunately, we don't have like a Ronald Acuna Jr., that's been sitting on the bench that could ignite some life into this offense. We got, I don't know, Joey Loperfido. Maybe he'll come up at some point. There's not a lot to get excited about. Arjun Amal in 3 years. I mean, that guy's on absolute fire. So that guy's been fun to watch if you're following along in the minor leagues. And maybe that's what we got to start doing a little bit more is, get some enjoyment from the minors because it's not coming from the Toronto Blue Jays right now.
No, it's not. No. And that's the sad part, right? Is especially for people that do a podcast 5 days a week, you want to be excited. You want to be pumped up about your team. And this is a team that I think going into this year, we were hoping would have a little bit more life, and they just don't. In saying all of that, I'm going to try from now on out to be a little bit optimistic. Hopefully this team can do something to inspire me to do that. Carter, me and you are going to be golfing. I got a couple days off, which is unbelievable. I'm so pumped up. We're going to be golfing. Me and you on a team yesterday for a scramble. So, that's awesome. Whiteout party for the Jets tonight. And we got some, baseball going on the weekend. So it should be an absolute good time. I'm really hoping the Blue Jays can step it up and make it fun to watch again. But, hopefully this is just a down spell in the year and this team will be able to bounce back and figure some stuff out. Yeah, that's about all the optimistic views I have.
Yeah, I got one more thing to kind of end this episode off in a lighthearted fashion. So obviously we were talking about who is to blame on this team, on this roster construction with the front office, whoever you want to blame. Probably the right answers are Ross Atkins and the players, but we need a fall guy. Like I said, maybe it will be John Schneider. Maybe it will somehow be David Popkins. Probably not. But who's the fall guy? Like, is it going to be, maybe like the mascot? Is it, maybe Buck Martinez, has to, hang him up or something? I don't really want to see that. I like what Buck Martinez is doing. He does have some funny clips from time to time. I'm not sure exactly who it needs to be. I'm not sure if you have somebody in your head. Do you have a fall guy? Like someone's got to take the blame for what's going on right now.
Yeah, it's the video crew. They're just not showing these players the right pitches to look for. That must be what it is. It might be Buck Martinez. I know there's a guy on TikTok right now that's doing a Buck Martinez impersonation. It might be him, and I think he starts out every video. It's like Dan Schulman talking, and then it's Buck Martinez going, "The Blue Jays," and I thought it was the funniest thing of all time. So shout out to that guy on Twitter. If I can find his account again, I'll give him a shout out on the next episode because it's like something that just rings in my head every time Buck talks, and I love Buck, but it was just a great impersonation. So maybe it's the guy on TikTok.
No, I kind of like the spin zone of it being the analytics department. They're the ones screwing up this team right now. They're not showing them the right things. Clearly, they're not showing them their hot and cold zones. Like, they're not getting right reads on the pitchers. It's the game planning. It's anything that has to do with analytics. Maybe they got to go away from the iPads. Let's just blame the iPads.
Yeah, no
maybe
iPads.
Maybe they're looking too much into the analytics. Maybe they got to go back to the old brand of baseball and just talk in the dugouts, kind of play telephone in that dugout and say, hey, what's the pitcher got? What's he throwing? What's he throwing where? let's go back to old school. Again, I brought up Happy Gilmore. I'm throwing stuff at the wall at this point. I don't know what needs to change because it hasn't changed in about 10 days now. And hopefully at this point, we do get a little bit more offense. Again, the schedule gets a little bit easier, but I don't care if you're playing the White Sox. If you're going to play this brand of baseball, I don't think you're going to get a ton of wins right now. But again, you're trying to save some of the negativity. I need something to prove to me why I shouldn't be negative anymore. I need some reason to have some joy back in the Toronto Blue Jays baseball. I don't know if it's a win. I don't know if it's a 2 home run game from someone. I don't know if it's just multiple home runs in a game. I don't know if it's 5 hits. Maybe it's 5 hits. Something will get me to get a little bit fired up about this team. My expectations aren't crazy high, and I'm not going to ask for the world here. I just want something.
Yeah, I'm with you. We need something. The fan base, the Blue Jays team themselves, they all need something.
Maybe always, it's the 999 challenge that the Locked On Boys are going to do. Maybe that's what the people need.
Dude, we should have done that. We should have done it. Maybe that's coming. That's coming. Carter's gonna hate me, but we're gonna do it anyway. Thanks a bunch for watching, you guys, and listening wherever you watch or listen to the podcast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Drop comments down below. We want to hear what you guys have to say as well. As always, we'll see you guys tomorrow. And don't do anything. What is it that we wouldn't do, but also don't do anything that we would do? Whatever it is. Anyways, have a good one, guys.